What's up, y'all? What's up? Welcome to the Pugilistic Linguistics Show. I am your host, Michael Foster, the voice of reason in an increasingly unreasonable world, and I am back. Before I get started, like I say all the time, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, be notified when new episodes, interact in the comments. Let me know if I'm off base or not. Let me know what you think. Pass this podcast around via word of mouth. Whether you like it or you hate it, let other people know about it. See if they like it and hate it too. So, today I'm going to wade into a argument that you're never supposed to have. You know, they always say there's two things you don't want to argue about. That's politics and religion. Ironically, the two things I like to argue about the most. But today, I'm going to pick the most volatile of the two and talk about religion. Now, I grew up in the church. I grew up in a progressive church. And when I say progressive, I don't mean what y'all think I mean. I don't mean, they didn't espouse the tenets of the Bible. I don't mean the, prosperity crap. No, I don't mean that. When I say progressive, I mean when I was coming up, they were very youth-centric, very youth-oriented. They were not above doing what was necessary to get the young folk in. And the church, all the parishioners, the church goers themselves understood. I don't even know if that was the stated focus of it, but that's what it ultimately ended up being. And consequently, there were a lot of youth coming up in the church when I was growing up, which intrigued me, which made me want to go more, because it wasn't that stodgy, thus saith the Lord type of thing. Pastor was relatively young at the time, so he understood how to get through to the younger folk and as well as the adults. Funny thing is, he was a huge Bulls fan. And around this time, we're talking late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s. And it wasn't enough for Pastor Frank to say, all right, the Bulls play at 2 o'clock. We're going to make this short today. I used to love that. I knew when the Bulls played on Sunday, we got a short service. There was nothing wrong with that. And also, there were a lot of youth-oriented ministries. We had a rap group. Back before rapping in church was like, what? We had a drama group. We had, youth dancers. Our youth chorale was top-notch with some of the best leadership in the southern Chicago suburbs. It was just an all-around good place to be. And then I grew up and encountered some places that were not as welcoming. It's true. A lot of people that sit in them pews on Sunday going to hell. And that's true, because churchgoers are some of the most judgmental people out there. And the funny thing is, it's not really where I was going with this, but this is where I'm going to start. There are some of the most judgmental people out there. They are, and not everybody, of course, but it's enough of them to where it gives church a bad name. It's enough shade tree preachers out there. And I know it ain't all of them, but it's enough out there to give church, Christianity, a bad name. They always tell me separate the man from the message, and I did a episode on that previously, and that's a cop out, and I still believe that. I believe if you stand in front of me and tell me this is what God told me to tell you, then you need to live a life above reproach yourself. That's like having a math teacher not knowing what 2 plus 2 is. Can't have it both ways. But there are far too many preachers out there that just want the money, chasing tail, doing everything that I was doing Saturday night. Why the hell do I need to come in on Sunday and give you 10% of my money then? I can stay home and do the same shit. So I got disillusioned about church and church people when I became an adult. And I really want to talk about church people, or better yet, religious people. Not necessarily talking about the building, just religious people. Got very disillusioned. And I've always said there's nothing worse than a disillusioned former believer. Let me say former believer. I still believe, but a disillusioned former churchgoer. Maybe that's a better way to say it. There's nothing worse because we are the hardest to get back. When you don't know no better, then it's easier to get them back. But when you know better and you've seen better, I'm just not interested. But like I say, I want to talk about church goers and more broadly, just religious people. Because religious people, Christians, are the most, not even the most, are the main reason why people don't go to church no more, why people don't believe anymore, why people don't ascribe to religion anymore. Religion has been corrupted by the religious. Looking at some of the way some of y'all behave out here these days in the name of the Lord makes me like, I don't want to meet that dude. If this is the God you serve and he sanctions how you behave, what kind of outreach is that? What makes you think I want to now join forces with you? If this is how you act, and you say God has sanctioned this, what kind of God is that? That ain't the God I want to serve. I don't want no parts of your God if this is how he allows you to behave. And it's rampant these days. I can't tell you the number of atrocities that have been created in the name of Jesus. Christians are the biggest hypocrites on earth. And when I say Christians, that covers them all, Catholics and Baptists and, Protestants, all that. Christians are some of the biggest hypocrites on earth. You know how I know? When a Christian doesn't believe in how you believe, what's the first thing they do? Send a death threat. What about all these abortion clinic doctors that have been murdered by Christians? But the 6th commandment says, thou shalt not kill. That's in the Bible that you tell me, that you beat me over the head with. But it's thou shalt not kill unless you feel justified? What kind of God is that? I don't want no parts of it. But time and time again, atrocities committed in the name of the Lord. Like these evangelical Christians nowadays who pray to the altar of Trump. Man, I just combined both of them, politics and religion. But here we go. Who pray to the altar of Trump. Who legitimately say out their mouths in public that man was sent by God. If that man was sent by God, I want no parts of your God. They idolize this man. And I know I don't know the Bible intimately. I've been through it a few times, but I know there's something in there about false idols. I know there's something in there about false idols. They pray to the altar of Trump. But you call yourself Christian. Look, I'm not perfect. I don't ascribe to be. I don't act like I am at all. But even I know a man who cheated on his first wife with his second wife, who cheated on his second wife with his third wife, who cheated on his third wife with some porn star, and say he can grab any woman by the thing when he feel like it, who was a money launderer for the Russians, and has 5 kids from 3 different women, was not sent by God. You can talk your ass off. I ain't got no direct line, no Jesus on the main line. I ain't picked that one up yet, but I can tell you right now, God didn't send this dude. And when he dies, he is not going up. Man has no heaven and hell to put you in, but I got a good suspicion where that man is going. He will not pass go. He will not collect $200. But this is the guy you say God sent? If that's the guy God sent, I don't want no parts of your God. And then, I see these people who are just justified in their bigotry, and they blame it. I don't even know blame it, because blame sounds like a bad thing. They justify it with their religion. They justify it with their God, their Bible. I don't like gay people because God said it was bad. I'm being persecuted. Like I was watching this one thing. This is British lady, British actress, and she was set to play Celie in The Color Purple over in London somewhere. Now, if you know anything about Celie, you know that there is a homosexual relationship in the story. But she swore up and down that wasn't the case. And then her past homophobic stuff had come out. And she was fired. Now she's justifiably angry. Righteously angry. That's a better way to say it. She's righteously angry, and she wants to sue the world for discrimination against her religion. This ain't got shit to do with your religion. Ain't no God in that. You were fired because you are a horrible individual. You were fired because you're a shitty person. Let's just keep it a buck. And now you want to sue everybody and claim that you were discriminated against because of your religion. This ain't got shit to do with your religion. Because that same book that talks about homosexuality, which it really doesn't, it's interpreted as much, but whatever. The same book that speaks about homosexuality also says you ain't supposed to shave. Have you shaved your legs before? Do you have a tattoo? Because you ain't supposed to have a tattoo. Have you touched a football in your life? Do you have a cotton top with polyester bottoms? All that's against the. Have you worked on a Sunday? All that's against that Bible you want to cloak yourself in. You're a hypocrite. You're a bigot and you are a shitty person. Let's just keep it a buck. I could respect you more If you said, look, I just don't like gay people, that's an argument, that's a discussion we can have. But to sit there and try to justify your hatred of others because you cloaking yourself in the Bible turns people off. The biggest church are people who don't go to church. And I wonder why. Because of churchgoers. Because of Christians. I don't want to be in the number with these people. At all. I'd rather go to Bedside Baptist every Sunday morning. At least I understand what my motivations are. And please do not come out there talking about it. Separate the man from the message. I will cook you in the comments. Don't do it. Because that is a cop-out. Separate the man from the message is something you say when you don't want to hold somebody accountable for how they behave. So you absolve their behavior. Like, again, would you separate the math teacher from the math if they ain't know how to do it? No. You wouldn't listen to them. So why would you listen to somebody, not just the pastor, just anybody? Why would you listen to anybody that preaches about a God that they outwardly don't serve? Just look at their actions. You're supposed to love people. You call yourself a Christian, but Christ didn't hate. So why do you? This is why you'll never get me back in the fold. And I'm okay with that. If I end up going to the other place, then so be it. But you know what? At the end of the day, let me say this. At the end of the day, the whole point is to be a good person. Patton Oswalt, who is a comedian who I actually like, haven't listened to him in a few years, but I like him. And he said, if you truly believe, let's say you believed in shit goblins. And these are goblins that come out and they come out your ass and they eat people. And in order to keep the shit goblins at bay, you had to be good and nice and kind to everybody that you encountered. That kept them at bay. And because of that, you are the nicest, most helpful person that has ever been, ever. Could I hate on that person because they didn't believe in the same God I do? But they are a terrific person, they're a terrific human being with a good heart? Why they are is irrelevant, right? Because you can believe in Jesus and be one of the shittiest people on earth. What would you rather encounter? So, I don't know. It's just, I'm so disillusioned. And again, let me say this also. I cast no hate, no aspersions, no nothing on anybody that's in church every Sunday and believe wholeheartedly. Hey, do you? There was a line in Menace to Society. And just real quick, the lead character, one of his friends was a Muslim. And that lead character's father was Christian. And he said a line. And the gist of it is, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly how he said it, but the gist of it was, I'm Christian, he's Muslim. If Allah can make him a better man than Jesus Christ can, I'm all for it. Paraphrasing, of course, but that was the gist of what he said. If Allah can make you a better person than Jesus Christ can, I'm all for it. And that's what I believe. Whatever you believe in, fine. I don't really care. All I care about is if you're a good human with a kind heart and you love your neighbor. Whatever, I don't give a damn you pray to the flying spaghetti monster. Who the hell cares? Are you a good human with a good heart? That's all that matters. If you can say yes to both of those, me and you can hang out. But I'm not going to give you carte blanche because you call yourself a Christian. Again, some of the biggest atrocities has been committed in the name of Jesus. Y'all talk shit about Muslims. And yeah, there are some radical Muslims out there. I'm not naive enough to say that there aren't. But there are radical Christians out there. And I subject to you that there are way more radical Christians than there are radical Muslims that have caused more chaos, death, and destruction than any Muslim. Y'all look at the big shit, the 9/11s of the world, the USS Cole or the U.S. Embassy in Kenya. Y'all look at the big shit and say, look at these Muslims, look how bad they are. But you ignore the day-to-day shit that a Christian does. That ultimately, over time, trumps all that. And I use that word specifically, pun intended. Trumps all that. But again, you so far up your ass that if it ain't God, it's wrong. This is a Christian nation. No, it ain't. As a matter of fact, specifically, it is not a Christian nation. Look at the First Amendment that you all refuse to read. Congress shall pass no law establishing a national religion. That is in the First Amendment. That is in the First Amendment. You know how y'all like to read the Bill of Rights and hit you over the head with the Second Amendment and First Amendment and I can say what I want and all this bullshit? Well, look at the second half of the First Amendment. And what irritates me about the whole shit is the fact that Google exists. It's existed for 30 years. Type it in there. Use that computer in your hand for something more than cat videos. Congress shall pass no law establishing a national religion. That means this is not a Christian nation. It never has been. I think for that reason, this "in God we trust" in courtrooms need to go, but that's a completely different conversation for another day. I also think that, as a quick aside, I also think that churches who bring politicians up in the pulpit during election season should be forced to pay taxes. It's completely different, just randomly on my head. Churches don't pay taxes, so they need to get out of politics. You need to pay to play. If you want to play, you got to pay. Different conversation. And my church used to do it too, so. But anyway, I think I've successfully stamped my ticket to hell. So I'm going to go ahead and be quiet. But what do you think? Am I off base? I might be. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. But other than that, I am going to step down off my soapbox, tuck it in neatly in the corner of the closet with this velvet cape I have over it. And I will see you all the next time some bug gets in my ass. All right? Like I say before, like I say all the time, take care of yourselves and each other because we are all we got. Peace.